An accidental landlord in Washington state has spent more than $50,000 trying to evict garbage tenants who trashed his property, but they are represented by free lawyers from the state. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of Washington State once again. So, as I've mentioned many times before, Washington, well, it has the worst policies I've seen, of almost any state in the entire country when it comes to landlord-tenant law. Okay, they treat us like garbage there. And I would hate to be a landlord there, and this story is a shining example of just how wrong things can go for you if you are, in particular, a small mom-and-pop landlord. So this landlord rented their place out, and the tenant almost immediately stopped paying rent. And you know what? That's awful. That's absolutely awful, because now you're placed in a position where you have to remove this tenant through the eviction process, but this tenant has super duper strong state level protections, not to mention any local level protections that make it darn near impossible to get this tenant out of there in any short period of time. Not only that, but they provide this tenant with a free lawyer. So while you're spending tens of thousands of dollars in, repairs and damages and lost rent and paying for your own lawyer, tenant gets to stay in your place for free, gets to have their stay extended by this free lawyer. And you know what? The only person who's really winning in this situation is the lawyers themselves, okay? I feel like they put these laws in place so that lawyers would be able to make more money. Giving them a free handout. We're talking about a civil case here between two individual parties, and we have somebody who has a financial incentive to drag the process out because they're getting free state money. They have a financial incentive to make this last as long as possible so that they keep getting paid. What a joke. And I absolutely hate it. I feel like it is a travesty of justice, okay? So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. First of all, would you invest in Washington State? And if you do invest there, let me know what your experience is. But second of all, what do you think of these, these policies that give free lawyers to tenants? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is actually helping anyone? I mean, what is there to fight when a person is not paying their rent? Okay? Nothing. You're not helping anything. The only thing you're doing is dragging it out. And they always talk like, oh, well, you know what, these rich landlords, like stealing is wrong. Whether you're stealing from a large landlord or a small landlord, stealing is always wrong. Always. So you sitting there, you living in their place, you not paying your bills, that is theft. Okay? Period. There's no question in my mind. And you trying to get something for free, there is no such thing as something for free. Somebody's got to pay. And you trying to force the landlord to pay so you can live for free, that's a complete joke. Okay? Free lawyers, there's no such thing as a free lawyer because the taxpayers pay for them. We're paying to help people who didn't pay their rent stay longer? Dumb. It's absolutely idiotic. And these bleeding heart leftists who put these stupid policies in place, you know what? They have no common sense whatsoever. Anyway, I'm already on a rant. I haven't even gotten into the article yet. So, you know what? Let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from KIRO7.com, and it says, Jesse Jones, pile up... Sorry if I mispronounced that. Landlord says nightmare tenants trashed his late wife's house. Yeah, so unfortunately, this is a property that used to be owned by this gentleman's wife, but she has passed away, okay? And so he's basically an accidental landlord. But anyway, let's get into the story. Glenn Jasmer is a widower and a reluctant landlord. Dana Glenn's late wife owned the home when the two got married. After renting it in 2020, it's become a legal nightmare. She recently passed, and I'm glad she passed so she doesn't have to see what is happening to her pride and joy. The only view he gets of the place is peeking over the fence, which currently resembles a garbage dump. At one point, the water was cut off. Now, neighbors complain of vermin. They don't pay their garbage bill, which is mandatory in the city of Puyallup. Okay, so I can't pronounce that city name. If you know how to pronounce it, please put it down in the comments section. But what it sounds like is we have the classic case of tenant stops paying rent, tenant isn't paying the bills, tenant has trashed the property, and the landlord has to evict them, right? But unfortunately, you live in Washington State, and it is very difficult to evict a tenant there. I don't know how the city can allow this to happen, said Glenn. Through all of this, he's been attempting to evict his tenants. He claims his total losses are near $50,000. Glenn told us almost immediately after they moved in, they stopped paying rent. They would pay rent, then skip a couple of months, then pay rent again, or pay half a month rent, or skip a couple of months. Glenn's case highlights the difficult terrain in the new landscape of landlord-tenant disputes. So yeah, basically he's got a tenant, and they would skip a bunch of months. It sounds like they moved in back in, they rented it out back in 2020, right? So obviously we know what happened in 2020. We're talking about eviction moratoriums, not just on the federal level, but on the state level and local level as well. So he probably faced some of that, and that was part of the reason why he hasn't been paid rent in so long. But we're talking about $50,000 at this point. That's how much his losses are, and I'm pretty sure that does not include the damage to the property on top of that. Okay, once he goes into the property, there might be $10,000, $20,000 more worth of damage that they have done to the house. So yeah, I mean, this is a nightmare scenario, and unfortunately, he didn't go into this intentionally as, hey, I'm buying this property as an investment or any of that, right? His wife owned the home before they got married, and when they got married, she moves in with him, rents the place out. Should have sold it. I know a lot of people, they think, oh yeah, this is a great investment. This is my retirement, right? But as you can tell, it's more headaches than it's worth in a lot of cases. And, I tell people, especially if you aren't already a landlord, don't invest in a place where there's, they treat you like you don't have any property rights, okay? If you're somebody and you're like, oh, maybe I'll move out of my current home and turn it into a rental, and you live in Seattle, that's a bad idea. If you live in Los Angeles, bad idea. I don't care what the property values are, right? Sell the place, take your equity, invest it somewhere else. That's what I say. Okay, if you want to be a landlord, go out and find a place, specifically that you can use as a rental, because this sort of situation, it's more common than you think. First, he says it's unfair that tenants were represented by a free lawyer and that he and all taxpayers pay for this. Sean Flynn is the director of the Washington Rental Housing Association. Our tax dollars are going to fund a public defense law firm, the Housing Justice Project, that is a not-for-profit organization that provides defense to residents who are facing eviction. So folks who haven't paid their rent or are not obeying the rules, the state is paying for their defense. If you're a small housing provider, you can't afford the process to take longer. And so the system is broken, and we know what broke it. It's the lawyers. And he's absolutely right, okay? I mean, the lawyers broke the system. They broke it on purpose because they're getting paid to do so. They're getting paid to do so by the taxpayers. So the people who own the property, like this gentleman here, he owns the property. He pays property taxes. And guess what? His tax money is being funneled to pay these lawyers to basically drag this process out. So you know what? It's wrong. It's just dead wrong. As I've mentioned many times before, 90 to 95% of all evictions are for non-payment of rent. Okay? 90 to 95%. 9 out of 10 of all evictions are for non-payment of rent. Not for, because the landlord just doesn't like you or whatever. It's because you screwed up. You didn't pay the bill that you said that you would pay when you signed that lease contract. And now the landlord, as he stipulated in the contract, is going to remove you so that he can get his property back and hopefully be able to make some money. But you know what? I mean, there's nothing to fight there Unless you're going to pay the landlord the money that you owe, you have no defense. You have no, well, I stopped paying rent because I lost my job. That's not a defense. That's your problem. That's not the landlord's problem. Okay? I stopped paying rent because I had other bills that I needed to pay. That's your problem again. Okay? So simply put, right? To me, it's the same thing as a car getting repossessed. Simply put, right? If you don't make your car payment, they will come and take their car back. So when I don't get my rent payment, I want to take my property back. You know, it seems like a no-brainer to me, but you know, these people, they want something for free. They feel like they own the place. They don't. They don't. You signed a contract to say that you could live there for a temporary period of time if you pay the rent. Why don't they realize this stuff, okay? And now in the article, they actually talk to one of these money grubbing, I call them money grubbing because to me, this seems like a cash grab, idiotic free lawyers that they give tenants. Mark Morzol is the managing attorney for the Tacoma Pro Bono Housing Justice Project. He says his group is not causing delays, but rather forcing landlords' lawyers to follow the letter of the law. There are protections built into the law that certain notifications have to be given to tenants, and you have to follow those strictly. And I don't think enforcing that is really a technicality. It's the way the law is written. So it isn't that the defense attorneys are really hindering or delaying this any more than the landlord has certain responsibilities that they have to follow before they get their eviction, says Mark Morzol. That's a lie. That's a complete lie, okay? You can file every single piece of paperwork correct in the timeline specified by your local laws and regulations, right? And they will still find ways to file motions and drag the process out. They are purposefully delaying it. They are purposefully doing this. We all know this. This isn't like this is some kind of, we're just making them abide by the rules because they're all breaking the rules. No, they're not all breaking the rules. Okay? You're a scumbag. You give good lawyers, bad name. I don't have any problem against lawyers. I know several lawyers, they're great people, right? But certain lawyers, they act like, hey, well, you know what? We are somehow better than everyone else. And, they just want to just suck money, they just want to suck every penny out of you they can. And I hate that. So I'm going to skip down a little bit, right? And it says here, I'm just so angry right now. I can't even put it into words. What they've done to this house and my feelings toward them. Glenn will not be reimbursed for these losses. He estimates it will cost more than $30,000 to get the home back to the shape it was when Dana purchased it. Now it's up for sale because nothing will ever be the same here again. So $50,000 in lost rent, etc. $30,000 in damages. 80 grand this guy's out. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating reading this sort of article, right? But this is a warning out there. I feel like I can't say it enough, okay? Be very, very careful where you choose to invest.